I'm Jefferson Graham. This is the audio companion to the PhotowalksTV TV show. And we just did the 100th location of the show in the Gold Country of California, 100 different places. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to give you little thumbnails about each of the places. So stay tuned. Buckle up. This is going to be one of the longer ones, but you might have some fun. Do a little armchair listening. We began in Hollywood at the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the kind of seedy tourist spot that is the number one place that everybody goes to when they come to Los Angeles. And, the street has seen better days. It's kind of funky, but there's some beauty there as well. And I try to show off some of the best photo spots on the Walk of Fame, where to go and where to stay away from. The second episode, we went to Hermosa Beach, which is my next door town. I live in Manhattan Beach. It's a really cute, idyllic Southern California beach town, small. I think there's about 20,000 residents. Most of the action takes place in Pier Plaza, which is a street with no cars. It's a walking street. Surfing is big there. The pier is gorgeous. The restaurant called Good Stuff is right by the sea. Volleyball at the beach. A lot of really fun things to go visit if you come to town. I'd recommend it over Santa Monica and Venice. But anyway, that was our second episode. Then we went to Kauai, the garden island of Kauai in Hawaii, of course. Kauai is my favorite of the islands. It is the lushest. It is the wettest. It is green. It is gorgeous. And if you've never been there before, you need to go. Fourth episode, Los Angeles. I did a deep dive everywhere. I mean, downtown LA and some of the districts, some of the areas. This one we did 2 days in LA in 48 hours, and we did Santa Monica, Venice, Beverly Hills, Hollywood, Griffith Park, the Griffith Observatory, downtown Los Angeles, Disney Hall. It was a lot to take in, but the city is a lot to take in. We have, I believe it's 7 million residents. The city is giant. When you hear LA, you sort of think Hollywood and a few little Beverly Hills, but it's spread out. It is spread out for a long, long ways. Our fifth episode took us to the small town of Port Townsend, Washington. This is like one of the fun things that I love to do, is to go to small towns. Port Townsend was going to be the next Seattle. Was going to be as big as Seattle, actually, and then it didn't work out that way. But they had built these old Victorian mansions that are just drop-dead gorgeous to this day. It's near the Olympic. It's called the Olympic National Park. It's on the Olympic Peninsula. It's at the top of the state, and if you've never been there before, you got to go. Part of that trip, we also went to Cannon Beach, which is my favorite beach town in Oregon. Best known by the Haystack Rock, this giant mammoth rock in the middle of the water. When it comes to photo spots, I can't imagine many other places as gorgeous as Cannon Beach. It's at its best in the summer, and in the winter, it's very cold and very wet. It's about 90 minutes drive from Portland. I highly recommend it. After that, I did a separate on Beverly Hills, the seventh episode. Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills Hotel, the Beverly Wilshire, which is called something different now. I don't remember the exact name, but those great palm trees that are amazing in Beverly Hills. That was a fun one. Then we went to the most underrated, most underheard location in Los Angeles, which is called Palos Verdes. The Palos Verdes Estates, the Peninsula. There's like 4 different cities in Palos Verdes, and this is our Hawaii, as somebody who lives nearby there. Just the other day, as a matter of fact, the entire South Bay was engulfed in fog. Just fog everywhere, and you couldn't get away from it. And then you go up to Palos Verdes and go to the top of the hill and look down. in the sunshine, looking down at the fog. It was an amazing sight. Terranea, you may have heard of it, which is a very expensive resort by the water in Palos Verdes. And if you come to LA, you got to go there. Next, we went to Huntington Beach. At the time I did this episode, it had not become a political fireball, which it's become now. There's a lot of controversy over politics there. But at the time I went, it was called Surf. They really were proud of the Surf City name, which they take on, and they have a lot of surfers there. Santa Cruz will also tell you that they're Surf City. Huntington Beach says they are. Either way, it's not that the waves are the best, it's that they're consistent, and they're always out there. So, number 10, we went to Tokyo. Our son Sam lives in Japan. We went to visit Tokyo, which is one of the wildest, craziest cities in the world. It's the biggest city in the world with 40 million people. And the next door town over it has another 20. So it's sort of like 60 million. And everybody's heard of Shibuya Square. If you haven't heard of Shibuya Square, it's seen in a lot of movies. It's got this crosswalk, five-way crosswalk that people are running across at all times. A lot of fun. And the thing about the largeness of Tokyo, as I said, it's a really huge city, but for some reason it didn't feel as congested as some other places. I don't know why, but really enjoyed Tokyo. It's very vibrant. Next, our first stop to San Francisco. I did a San Francisco episode about the Golden Gate Bridge and different places to photograph the Golden Gate Bridge, and there are many, 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 many. The best spot, of course, is in Marin County, looking back at the bridge and the city behind her from what's called Hawks Hill. But there are many others as well, and we explore all of them in this episode. I went on to do 15 episodes in San Francisco, more episodes there than anywhere else. And I also did San Francisco's Greatest Hits. And then there's been a lot of controversy about crime in San Francisco and how bad is it for tourists. You might want to check out some of those shows. Next, Central California Coast. I keep saying my favorite, but Pismo Beach is my favorite Central Coast town. It is just a funky, beautiful, beautiful beach town with miles and miles of open sand to walk on. That if you've never been there, you want to go. So it's in between LA and San Francisco. As you go up the coast, you have LA, Santa Barbara, Pismo Beach, and then the jewels just keep on coming. Morro Bay, Cambria, Cayucas, Big Sur, Carmel by the Sea, Monterey, and I'll cover all that in a little bit. Now I'm going to backtrack here to Venice Beach, the wildest Southern California beach where there's always a show. There's street performers. There's a funky vibe. There's art everywhere. There's old canals. The founder of Venice, Abbot Kinney, really wanted to recreate the Venice canals of Venice, Italy in Venice, California, and he said about doing it, I think he'd be a little surprised what it looks like now. But if you come to LA, you're going to go to Venice Beach. Number 14 was Palm Springs, my favorite winter getaway when it's not as warm here in LA. It's always amazingly beautiful in the desert, old mid-century homes, palm trees, big blue skies, more swimming pools than anywhere I've ever been. So love that. Number 15, speaking of the desert, was Las Vegas. Crazy Las Vegas. You know, there are people who've not been there before, and there's no place, no city in the world like Las Vegas. It's the wildest, most colorful, insane, nutty place. The Las Vegas Boulevard South is just one crazy hotel after the next, trying to get you in the door with garish lighting and signs. And you all have to go to Las Vegas at least once in your life. I've been there over 100 times. And we go from Las Vegas to Santa Barbara, which is another beach community. They call themselves the Riviera of Southern California. Beautiful old Spanish homes. It's very wealthy. As you probably know, Oprah Winfrey lives there. And the Princess and Duchess, is that what they call her? Harry and Meghan, they live there as well. And the best Mexican food I think I've ever had, save for the one in Las Vegas. So let me backtrack. The best Mexican food in the world is at Juan's Flaming Fajitas in Las Vegas. The best sit-down taco stand is in Santa Barbara, and it's called El Super Rica, R-I-C-A. So that's on Milpa Street. Keep that in mind. From Santa Barbara, we now do a whole tour of the Orange County beach communities. Seal Beach is the smallest. They've got a nice pier. It's very cute, sort of a Mayberry downtown. Newport Beach is very wealthy. Great waves for surfers. A lot of people have these boats called Duffies, and they ride in them up and down the harbor by their waterfront homes. And the Duffies do not go very fast. They're very slow. It's a cute place to visit, and they have an island community, a man-made island called Balboa Island. So it's part of Newport. That is, I'm going to get to in a minute because I did a separate on that. Laguna Beach is the prettiest beach in Southern California. Rocky, dramatic cliffs, tide pools. And at one time it was an artist colony. Right now it's just incredibly wealthy. And we're going to switch from Laguna Beach to Madrid. Madrid, Spain is the largest city in Spain. And even so, they have put all of the major attractions pretty close by. So it's a very manageable place to go visit in Spain. And I highly recommend it. From Madrid, we went to Seville, which is in the south of the country. That's where they still do bullfighting, and they have they're near Morocco, very old, and highly worth it if you go to Spain. It's a little bit out of the way, but I think you'll enjoy it. Next, we went to Portugal. As you know, Portugal is one of the most popular places in Europe right now, and we went to Lisbon, which is a gorgeous city with big hills and old architecture, and then Porto next, which is even more of big hills and dramatic architecture and lots of stuff at the waterfront. Highly recommended. And then we go back to California. Morro Bay is like Cannon Beach in that it has a giant rock in the middle of town, and a waterfront, and seashells that are sold, and really beautiful scenery. And then now we're back in Oregon. Newport, Oregon is big on fish. A lot of fish are caught there. Fish restaurants really popular there, and the people in Oregon will tell you they are the friendliest. They also have beautiful natural scenery all over the place, best seen in the summer. Dana Point, getting back to Oregon, back to California, is Orange County, pretty much the most southern beach community in Orange County before you then get to San Juan Capistrano. Oh, no, that's Orange County as well. Shows you what I know. But Dana Point is very close to San Juan Capistrano, more of a harbor city, with beautiful views. And we're going to go from Dana Point to Seattle. Seattle, I did a quickie. I was up there covering something for my old job at USA Today, and I knocked out a quick photo tips video, Pike Place, Kerry Park, the Space Needle, all the classics we tried to hit. And then I come back to the Marina del Rey in Los Angeles, which is in between Venice Beach and Manhattan Beach. And underrated, a beautiful waterfront. This is where most people do their sailing and long hikes, and you can walk from the marina to Venice and have a good time. Speaking of walking, the Culver City Steps, we did an episode about that. This is where a lot of people walk up some pretty intense steps to see what is the best view of downtown Los Angeles from Culver City, several miles away, believe it or not. But it's not for the faint of heart, and if you can't do the steps, you can drive up to the top, park your car, and go see the view. Number 30 is San Pedro. San Pedro, I'm going to give it to you again, underrated. This is a gritty, blue-collar city by the sea with gorgeous waterfront. that has to be seen. Most people who come to LA do not go there unless you're on a cruise. And if you're on a cruise, you will dock and disembark in San Pedro. And it cracks me up because when people get off the boat, it'll say, you're now in Los Angeles. Well, you're actually in San Pedro. Definitely worth checking out. And back to Orange County when we did the City of Orange, which is a cute, nostalgic Art Deco city set around a fountain. If you have the time, you want to check out Orange. Burbank, you've heard of. Burbank, where people, Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, Johnny Carson, a lot of the NBC shows were based in Burbank. They're not there now, but there still is a lot of production. And I spent a lot of time looking at some of, Warner Brothers is still in Burbank. Warner Brothers Studio. But we spent a lot of time just sort of walking around and checking out the old buildings and going to Bob's Big Boy, one of the oldest Bob's Big Boys, which is famous because Drew Carey, the comedian, likes to have lunch there most days and was very nice about during the writer's strike, he would pay for lunch for any writer that was on strike. Next door to Burbank is Pasadena, which you probably all know from the big parade every January, the Pasadena Playhouse. I'm telling you, Pasadena in the winter is drop-dead gorgeous. If there's a lot of rain, you'll see snow-capped mountains. And during the summer, it's a little hot. Next, Riverside. Riverside is about an hour and a half south of Los Angeles, the Inland Empire. Again, a lot of Art Deco, beautiful old buildings, a lot of orange groves. It's a different look at Southern California and worth checking out. This was one of our most popular episodes. Next, we went to Mountain View, California, which is best known at this point for being the home of Google. But it also has a large area where a bird sanctuary, and I was there photographing birds with my friend Chris McCaskill. From Mountain View to Savannah, Georgia. Savannah is like New Orleans, a historic old town on the waterfront with squares, town squares all over the place, a beautiful cemetery, an amazing cemetery, and watch the movie Midnight in the Garden of Evil. We'll tell you everything about Savannah, or watch the episode, please. After 36, I did an episode about the town I live in called Manhattan Beach. Again, idyllic Southern California beach town. Only 35,000 people live here. We have the best pier in Southern California, really gorgeous with an aquarium at the end. And a lot cooler to visit than Santa Monica. That's my point of view. From Manhattan Beach to Zion National Park, one of the great national parks in Utah, right over the border. It's about an hour and a half, about 2 hours north of Las Vegas. Some of the biggest rocks you'll ever see, some of the best hikes. And we went to town there. From Zion to Oahu, Hawaii. This is Honolulu, where most people go to when they visit Hawaii. And I made a point of seeing the other parts of the island that were not Diamond Head and Waikiki Beach. Busy, busy, busy. I went to some of the small towns and the beautiful scenery on the other side of the island. From Oahu to Flagstaff, Arizona. Flagstaff is unusual in Arizona in that it's in the north. It's not deadly hot like Phoenix is, and it's more temperate. It's on Route 66. It's very nostalgic, very old, a great old train station, and beautiful scenery. Sedona's nearby, and the Grand Canyon is not far away either. So that was a lot of fun. Following Flagstaff, I toured Redondo Beach with my mother. Redondo Beach is on the other side of Hermosa. Remember, it's Manhattan, Hermosa, Redondo. And I toured it with my mom, who lives in Redondo Beach. And we went to the harbor, went on a glass-bottom boat, had some fun doing that. And after that, I went to New Mexico to a little town called Bosque del Apache, where every November the birds known as the cranes like to come there and settle for a while. And when you wake up in the morning at 4:30 and you get all set up for pictures, you wait for that blast off. And they all blast off together, and it's quite a sight to see. Blast off as in they fly into the sky. While I was in Bosque, I headed over to a little small town called Pie Town. Pie Town, once upon a time, had 3 pie shops in town, and so they named the town Pie Town. Right now, I think there's just one, and it's the sort of episode that I love to do. Small town America, a little pie shop. The streets are called Lime Avenue and Crust Street and stuff like that. A lot of fun. Definitely check it out. Another place that I love in New Mexico is Taos, which is an artist colony on the other side of Santa Fe with some of the most beautiful scenery that you'll see anywhere. And Santa Fe, of course, is, what can you say about Santa Fe? One of the oldest cities. It's got the oldest building. It's got the oldest church. A lot of firsts. And everybody needs to go to Santa Fe at least once, if not many times. Now, from Santa Fe, we started our Highway 1 trip, and we did the entire coast. So San Luis Obispo is best known as the home of Cal Poly. It's the gateway to Hearst Castle, and it's a cute little town that is a college town. Right up from there is Cayucas, which is a tiny little western sea town. And it's a beach town with 2 blocks, two long blocks, but and beautiful beaches, worth pulling over. Then go a little further up the road and you got Cambria. Cambria is sort of like Little Sur. It's dramatic. You've got cliffs. You've got great scenery. And you've got a wonderful walk every morning. Moonstone Beach. So Moonstone Beach for a great walk every morning. Next is Big Sur. What can you say about Big Sur? One of the great sites in California, 90 miles of rocky, dramatic coast. They have been hit by mudslides over the last few years. Half of you can't drive from one end to the other. At this point, you will stop in the middle, and then you have to turn back. The best parts of Big Sur are in the north. That's where you'll see the Bixby Bridge, which has been seen in a zillion different movies. Nepenthe, which is a restaurant, which has a great view that Ansel Adams used to love. And so if you do Big Sur, you want to do it from San Francisco. On the other side of Big Sur, going north, we have Carmel by the Sea, a quirky little town with gingerbread houses where nobody has an address. There are no street addresses for any of the homes. You'll say, well, I'm the 3rd one down on Carmel Street or whatever, something like that. And it's been driving the post office crazy, and they're trying to change some of that. Again, gingerbread houses, no street addresses, beautiful trees, beautiful. Probably one of the greatest places you'll ever go to. So you want to check that out. And next up is Monterey, which is also gorgeous, not as gorgeous as Carmel, but really nice and best known for probably the best aquarium in California. 52, we go to Bandon, Oregon. Bandon is a tiny town at the bottom of the state that has these wild rocks on the water. Face rock, laughing dog. They're in different little shapes. And then there's just a little cute town as well. From Bandon, we go back down to the California coast. This is as far north as I've gone as Mendocino. Population 1,100. Again, dramatic coast, fun downtown. It's all sounding the same. It's sort of hard to describe. I'd like you to watch the videos so you could get a feel for what it's like. We stayed in Jessica Fletcher's old house. Jessica Fletcher was the fictional character on Murder, She Wrote. And they used the exterior of this house to double for Maine. So that'll give us an idea. Next, the Big Island of Hawaii. And the Big Island of Hawaii is the biggest island there. It's warm on one side in Kona. It's wet and lush on the other side in Hilo. And then you've got the Volcano National Park because volcanoes erupt at many hours. The sand is black. It's definitely worth exploring because it changes so much as you keep driving. And from there, we go to Kobe, Japan. Now, again, my son lives near Osaka. And Kobe is, I think, the 8th largest city in Japan. It doesn't feel that large, but it's a port town. It's a port town, and it was has a European flair, and it's normal Japan. Osaka's crazy, Tokyo's crazy, Kobe's not, and of course, great food. From Kobe, we go to one of my favorite places in the world, the Sunshine Coast in British Columbia. I would say that the two prettiest places I've ever been to in my life would be the Sunshine Coast and New Zealand. I didn't have the Photowalks camera at the time, so I don't have an episode on New Zealand. But Sunshine Coast, it's near Vancouver, and you have to take one ferry to get there. And if you keep on driving, you'll take two more. Very green, very lush, best in the summer. Highlight of the Sunshine Coast at 57 is Savory Island. It's a tiny little island where 100 people live, and it's in between the Sunshine Coast and Vancouver Island on the other side. You get yourself a place to stay for a week in the summertime. There's no cars. There's no supermarket. There's one restaurant. There's an ice cream shop. And that's about it. Rent a bike. There is a bike store. You can rent a bike and ride around the island, which is fun. Now, speaking of islands, we go to another one, Catalina, which is off the coast of Los Angeles. No cars through the city of Avalon. Most people are in golf carts. And it's nostalgic. It's old. It's Art Deco. And it's like stepping into another world. Santa Cruz, which is south of San Francisco, is another great old beach town with a roller coaster right there on the boardwalk, a great old wooden roller coaster, great views, an old lighthouse, which you'd really like. And now I'm going to take you to another island, which is that Balboa Island, which is actually part of Newport Beach. And this island is great old turn-of-the-century Victorian homes on the water. Fun place to walk around. You will not run into a lot of cars there either. And you can take the ferry from Balboa Island to Balboa Inland right across the water. It costs, I think, $1. And there's an amusement park there. Next up on the coast, Half Moon Bay, which has giant pumpkin festivals every October. And it's nearby Mavericks, which has the biggest waves in California and is beloved by surfers. Next, we go to Paris. Now, when people say, hey, Jeff, greatest place you ever photographed, I say Paris. Walking around, every block was a masterpiece. And the reason that it's so beloved and it's such a cliche is because it is so amazing. So I'll just leave it at that. We went to the town of Lyon. Lyon is the second largest city in France, though we stayed in the old part of town and you would never know it was large. It's also considered a food capital. From Lyon back to California and Palm Desert. Palm Desert is the adjoining city to Palm Springs and has more wide open desert than Palm Springs does, and a great zoo called the Living Desert. So if you like to photograph giraffes, it's a great place to do that, though they do have kangaroos too. 66 is San Diego, and I had fun in San Diego following the Greetings from San Diego mural, where you could see the turn-of-the-century Hotel del Coronado. You can see the bridge going to Del Coronado. You could see Chicano Park, where they like to do skateboarding. You can see Balboa Park and the old Mission Beach roller coaster. San Diego is military. It's gorgeous. It's wonderful weather. And it's at the bottom of the state, about 15 minutes from Mexico. So you know you're getting some pretty great Mexican food. And speaking of Mexico, I went to Tijuana. Tijuana, where a lot of people say, oh, it's not safe to go there. It's scary. It's gorgeous. I walked up and down Revolution Avenue and with a tour guide and really nice people. I got great photos there. You can walk right over the bridge. You can walk right in, spend the day there. You don't have to stay overnight. And I enjoyed it. I can't wait to go back. From Tijuana up the California coast to Solvang, which is inland actually. It is an old Danish town with lots of Danish food and a lot of history. And it's near Santa Barbara and at this point is well known for their wines. Then we go to Florida. Safety Harbor. This is small town USA. They sort of call it the Mayberry of Florida. Right by the water, beautiful pier. And then I headed over to Clearwater, Florida, where they claim they have the best beach anywhere in the world, the softest sand, et cetera, et cetera. The sand was soft and it was pretty. It was cool to see a beach town the Florida way because it was very colorful and fun to explore. From there, Osaka, Japan. Back to Japan. Osaka is the number 2 city in Japan. It's known as the kitchen of Japan, the food capital, street food capital. And like Tokyo, very electric. The neon is amazing. And it's near Kyoto, which is one of the older cities, and a lot of people love to go there. From Osaka, I'm going to take you to the Oceana Dunes near Pismo Beach, where you can drive your car on the sand, the only place in California you can do that. Drop Dead Gorgeous. Then Columbus, Ohio. Columbus, Ohio. Yes, Columbus, Ohio, German village. And the Short North District, student city, and the Ohio State University. It was a lot of fun. And a great little Midwest waterfront and skyline that was fun. From there, we went full bore on the west. The Badlands of South Dakota. You're like in another planet there when you're in that national park. Prescott, Arizona, which is an old western town in Arizona that takes their 4th of July very seriously, their rodeo and their cowboy motif. Moab, Utah, which is home to the Arches National Park, one of the most beautiful parks and one of the warmest. We were there in July when it was 100 degrees during the day. They told us that to go to Arches, to hike to the Arches, we needed to leave the hotel room at 4:30 in the morning, which we did. Because otherwise, the ground would be like 135 degrees. That's what it would feel like. Monument Valley is next door in Arizona. You've seen it in all the old John Ford movies, the great old Western motif that he did with in Stagecoach and films like that. It was also in Back to the Future 3. Small place. A lot of people go there to pose on Forrest Gump Hill Road. Believe it or not, that's what they call it. This is where Forrest Gump ended his ride, his run. And as you look back, you see that unbelievable view that is hanging on my wall right now as we speak. From Monument Valley, Boulder, Colorado, another college town with amazing scenery, and then to Jackson Hole, which is if not the wealthiest, it's one of the wealthiest communities in America. They're not talking millionaires, they're talking billionaires. It was so expensive we couldn't stay overnight there. We had to stay nearby in Victor, Idaho, which was okay with me. Now Jackson Hole is the home of the Tetons and the Teton National Park, but Victor, Idaho is on the other side of the Tetons where the view is even prettier. And it's home to the Victor Emporium, home of the world-famous Huckleberry Shake, the best Huckleberry Shake I've ever had in my life. So if you have a chance, you want to go to Victor, it costs $100 a night to stay there versus $400 a night in Jackson Hole. 81 is Naples, California. You know, you wouldn't know this, but there's a little suburb of Long Beach, California, where it also has canals, just like Venice Beach, but they have gondoliers, and they will take you on little rides. And that was fun. 82 is Bar Harbor, Maine. There we went on a lobster tour on an old fishing boat, and really pretty. And we took the ferry from Bar Harbor to Nova Scotia, and one of the great provinces of Canada with a French and Scottish influence and great music, fiddle music everywhere you go. So I was in heaven. From Nova Scotia, Atlanta. We did the Atlanta tour, and I stood on the Jackson Street Bridge to photograph the skyline. Atlanta is the number 1 city in the South, and if you're going to go there, you'll shoot the skyline and maybe go to the aquarium and the Martin Luther King Museum and the Koch Museum and meet some of the people who are really nice. Petaluma, California is an old Victorian San Francisco town. Fun to visit. If you're going to San Francisco, it might be out of your way, but if you're doing a Marin County tour you might really enjoy the old city of Petaluma. From Petaluma, I go all the way down to the coast, Imperial Beach. This is the last community in California before you hit Mexico. And when you stand on the pier in Imperial Beach, you're looking at Tijuana, which to me is just amazing. Keeping in the San Diego motif, Oceanside is sort of the last great beach town in near San Diego. And it's half of it is old, half of it is new. It's got a big military presence and some beautiful beaches. Next door is Carlsbad, which comes to life every spring with the flowers. At the flower fields, they have these massive flower fields. It looks like you're in the Wizard of Oz. And again, an old town that was originally a sanitarium. It was where people used to go to drink the water to get better. Number 88 is Pacifica. Pacifica is the last beach town on Highway 1 as you pull into San Francisco, and is, great views, great cliffs. It's a great place for people in San Francisco who want beach life to be able to commute into town. And it's home to what is considered the greatest Taco Bell in the world. This would be a Taco Bell on the sand with great views of the water. I mean, when's the last time you saw that at Taco Bell? And you can get margaritas there. From Pacifica on to Sicily, Italy. We did the entire country from one end to the other, from Palermo to Syracuse and then some in Taormina. We were inspired by the White Lotus Season 2. Yeah, it's that gorgeous and definitely worth your while. Cody, Wyoming, which is considered like Little Yellowstone. It's sort of the gateway to Yellowstone. And I saw bears and foxes and owls and all sorts of wildlife, as well as a really cute old western town that was founded by Buffalo Bill Cody himself. Okay, raise your hand if you know who I'm talking about. From Cody, Wyoming to Midway, Utah. Midway, Utah is about 45 minutes from Park City. It's an old Swiss town that is doesn't look any different. It doesn't look any different. These old Swiss gingerbread houses are amazing. Park City is up the road. A lot of people know Park City. They're famous for their skiing, of course. And they've got an old western town that's fun to walk around and beautiful views everywhere you go. Best for me in the summer. I like it when it's nice and green. And I'm also not a skier. So there. Driggs, Idaho was the other side of Victor, Idaho. Up the road, again, the other side of the Tetons, but from another view. Bozeman, Montana, cute little college town. About an hour and a half from Yellowstone. Green in June. Some of the best views that I saw. We went from there to Barcelona, Spain. Actually, we went from Sicily to Barcelona. I just didn't get around to editing the video for a while, so it's on there as 97. The wildest, most colorful, exotic city in Spain. All these Gaudi masterpieces, fun place to walk around. There's a lot of pickpockets there, so you have to be on your toes. I didn't have any issues, but it's something to consider. Back in California, Temecula, which is a wine community, halfway between San Diego and LA, and I went on a hot air balloon. That was a lot of fun. Abiquiu, New Mexico. This was home to Georgia O'Keeffe. This is where she wanted to live, and it's about an hour from Santa Fe and an hour from Taos. And if she thought it was pretty amazing, that's good enough for me. This is where you can go see her old home during the summer and fall months, and is definitely worth your while. Number 100. So now we're at 100. The California Gold Country, the most underrated place in all of California as a tourist spot goes. It is where gold was discovered. It's where gold put California on the map. And there's 300 miles of the Gold Country. We only did 3 of the counties: El Dorado, Amador, and Calaveras. All of them were great. Calaveras, this is where Mark Twain saw the jumping frog contest, wrote an article about it. It put him on the map. And there's the Big Tree State Park. In Amador, we went to to Sutter Creek, which was described to me as one of the best preserved old towns you could imagine. People riding into town on a stagecoach, and then we went to Placerville and Coloma, which is part of El Dorado County. That's where gold was actually discovered, and Placerville was where people would come to do their shopping and their banking and stuff like that. And it's where I filmed the 100th episode right there, the 100th anniversary episode. So next up, we have our trip to Galveston, Texas, and that will be followed by a return to San Diego. That won't count by numbers because we've been there before. And then we're going to go to New Orleans. And then I've got the big Route 66 trip in April from Chicago to LA. So we'll have some new places there, Illinois, Missouri, Oklahoma. And I can't wait. Where would you like to see us go? And if you enjoyed listening to this, please let me know. You can find me, PhotowalksTV, at gmail.com. And one click away. I'm Jefferson Graham. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for supporting Photowalks through the years.